Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast that talks about what it really takes and looks like to be healthy in this modern, fast paced world. I'm Tiffany Simms, and today I am already tearing up as I bring Susan Clancy to you. Susan and I today are just really going to, I can already feel that it's going to be a heartfelt conversation about like, how do I actually go from feeling miserable and heavy and just, and not heavy weight scale heavy, but just like, everything is heavy in my body to really learning how to generate my own energy and move through this life in the way that I want to feel and experience it. And so I'm really excited to be here with you, Susan. Do you mind taking a second and just sharing what makes you like Susan as a human? Who is she?
Yeah, so I have recently re-stepped into what I feel is my true purpose. And I am all about connecting with people like you, Tiffany, and others who are feeling not themselves and maybe not at ease in their own bodies and working together um, through connection, through community, through really heart one-to-one, like deep listening and conversations to figure out, okay, how can we feel more energy, more alive, more purposeful as we go about our daily lives so that we can thrive in whatever we do, right?
Oh,
Not just like go do things, but really feel energetic and thrive.
yeah, like really that experience. Like, how do I experience it? And I love that you said connections because connections, I didn't realize how valuable they truly are. Because when you're not just like when you're connected with yourself and you're connected with others, like there's a different sense of even responsibility of how you want to experience life. Because then it's like, if I'm miserable all the time and I don't have the energy to do anything and moving my body is hard, then how do I actually go connect and be with the people I care about?
Exactly.
Because if I want to hide in my house because I'm tired and exhausted and don't really feel good about myself, then am I really experiencing this life with those people I say I care about? No,
Right.
you
Exactly.
know? Oh,
Yeah.
I love that so much. Have you always, what does like Susan 10 years look like? How is she different than who you are now? Like, how did we get
Yeah.
here?
That's such a great question. 10 years ago, I was the overworked type A go-getter, uh, senior executive, global communication director at a multinational company. And I would wake up in the
Mm.
morning after, if I got 5 hours of sleep, that would be good. I would wake up in the morning on autopilot, get ready for my hour and a half commute and just be in my head for the rest of the day, right? Or I'd wake up after like meeting after meeting after meeting, and I would be like, wait a minute, I didn't have anything to drink. I didn't even eat lunch. And now, if I continue on this path, I know I'm going to burn out and hit a wall. So I started to think about my roots of when I was in college. I was a fitness instructor, group fitness instructor, and started becoming a personal trainer. And I thought about all of the tools I had to be fit and what could I add to those to bring mindfulness back to everything that I was doing so that
Mm.
I wouldn't hit that wall, right? So I started to build a little mindfulness toolkit that I carried around with me. For example, I
I
got a
love that.
water bottle, and I named my water bottle because then I would feel responsible for her, right? And I set alarms in
I
my
love
phone,
that.
right?
Give me you made your water bottle, you like gave your water bottle an identity so that you
Yes,
would care for it.
yeah, right.
What a get, like what a little nugget. Are you listening to Susan right now? That is like mastery level. of like, how do I really incorporate this into myself?
Yeah,
Well, I got to get responsible for it.
right. Exactly. And it's like that little elementary school experiment where you carry around an egg. So I named my water bottle. And
That's
um,
fantastic.
you can put alarms on your phone, but I had my phone talk to me in that alarm. Okay, stand up for a minute, roll your shoulders. Did you eat lunch yet? Hey, where's your water bottle? Take a drink. Those cues also were bringing me back to the present so that I could be fully in my body and experience my work rather than just stay stuck up in my head and not connected to everything.
Yeah. It's so amazing. Like, it's so easy to see. It's so easy. And it almost feels like you're cheating because when you look back, it's so easy to connect the dots. When you look back, you don't really know what's happening in the moment.
Right.
And like that difference between turning something into a chore versus I really want to be intentional about this. How can I prompt myself while I am practicing this intention?
Yes,
And
exactly.
like, I really feel like that intention piece matters because you could have someone where we just prescribe you, okay, go set these alarms. When they go off, you do this and that. But like, and so the results would be the same. Every time it goes off, I'm going to drink my water. Every time this moves, I'm going to move. But like, when the intention is, okay, I really want to get intentional and I really want to develop this habit because it's going to bring me X, Y, and Z. Okay, how do I help prompt myself? Same end result, completely different path.
Exactly. Exactly. And you said a key word there, which is practice, right?
Hmm.
Because you start out and you think, okay, I'm going to do these certain steps, and then once I get to a place, okay, I'll be good, I'll be done. This is a daily practice, right? So we can't just work out for 3 hours one day, a month, and think that we're going to be good. But if we take these little tiny steps, increments, say 10 to 15 minutes of movement in every day, that's going to add up and it's going to become part of our DNA. And to your point, it's practicing.
It
And
is.
if you think about practice, just like in yoga, it's a yoga practice because we continually evolve and we continually adapt to the changes that we go through.
I've really, probably in the last like 2.5 weeks, the concept of practice has really become very clear in something of like the phrase and the wording and the visual to like give not just myself, but to others. And it's like, okay, I'm practicing being this person. I'm practicing being a business owner who generates X amount of revenue in their company. I'm practicing being a runner, so I'm practicing all these things because and all of a sudden, it's not that you're giving yourself excuses, but it's like when something didn't go, when you didn't do the plan the way you planned it, and you want to beat yourself up and you're like, "Oh, well, I'm practicing. I need more practice at it. I just need to get better at it." And then it like diffuses, at least for me, it diffuses that identity piece of like, I'm worthless, I suck here, I failed again. And it's
Right.
like, no, I'm practicing. So I'm going to take this information and how do I try to prevent the same thing from happening tomorrow? Or if this worked really well for me, is there something that I can anchor into and carry with me into tomorrow? And I'm
Yes,
going to practice again.
exactly. That's so good because you're honoring yourself. You're being kind to yourself. And that's something that we don't do enough of, I think, is just to take a minute, exhale, and say, yeah, I'm practicing and I'm being, I'm on this path. And it's a practice.
Yeah. And you
So
know what I didn't realize I felt this way until right now, but you know what I really like about practice versus like giving grace is that sometimes it's really easy. Practice is like is accountability. It's holding yourself accountable to the things that you want to develop in. Whereas sometimes I feel like I've given myself grace as a cop out.
interesting.
Like it's like I'm not actually holding myself accountable. It's like that difference between like
Yeah.
beating yourself up versus realizing, okay, here's are the facts and this is what we're going to do moving forward. And sometimes that grace piece can get a little fuzzy when
Mm-hmm.
you're struggling of like just constantly commiserating with yourself and allowing yourself to stay in the suck a little bit too long because
Yeah.
you're trying not to beat yourself up. And practice has really given me that freedom and space to be like, I didn't really like how that turned out. It's okay. I'll practice again tomorrow.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. Just exhale.
Yeah. Oh,
Take that pressure off. You're going to feel so much lighter.
so good. Well, Susan, like you came from a high demand back, you have a high demand past,
Yes.
and you learned a way of holding yourself, and you got to a point where you're like, you know what, I need to share this with more people.
Exactly.
And I really, maybe this part of the conversation is solely for me because I feel like there's a conversation that's out there where it's like, there's people like you and I who took our lessons, learned how to manage it for ourselves, and then felt responsible for helping other people learn a little easier than we did. And I feel like there's this conversation of people who are in that high stress lane right now going, what do you know? You've removed yourself from the stress.
Oh,
Like, that's how you got over it. You're no longer here. What do you know about what I'm experiencing? And do you ever feel that, dude? Does that energy ever come your way? Or do you ever internally fight that?
um, at first I did. Honestly, I did at first. And I wasn't even sure if I should talk about it, right? Because I was like, I know that's going to be the first kind of barrier and the first thing people are going to bring up. Um, but I did the work around it and I stayed in that mindset to figure it out. And what I realized was, you know, I'm still in it as a partner to the people who are in that lane. And that's really how I still identify myself as that overworked executive woman, because that was such a huge part of who I was. So I don't disassociate from it anymore, and it feels so much better. And it gives me an easier way to relate to people who are still there, um, because essentially, for 10 or more years, that's who I was. So that's part of your psyche. Um,
I love that because I think that really shines light on no matter what your background is, what you're doing now, like any changes that you've made in your life, that just because you've evolved into a new role doesn't take away from the experiences and the navigating that you had to do to become this new person. And I think a lot of women struggle with that because they're either afraid of letting go of an identity because now people are going to look at them differently,
yeah,
or they turn into this new person and all of a sudden they start like downplaying their previous experiences because it's not their current reality. And it's like, no, 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 like we lived all of that to get here, and now like it's okay to reach your hand out, share your story, share how you overcame it, and bring people with you.
exactly. Exactly.
Like it will always be a part of you even if it's not how you currently operate.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
And I do know that there's a lot of women out there who are just so afraid of letting go of who they were because they're afraid they won't be relatable or that people won't understand what they're doing now.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of times I hear people that's the work that they're doing. Um, Trying to recreate a whole new persona versus leaning into those areas where they can be relatable.
Right? It's such a responsibility. especially when you hold any kind of leadership position, whether it's in a community group, a church, at work. Like when you are the leader of something, it is your responsibility to figure out how to generate the energy, how to create the harmony between your own health relationships in the way that you're earning money, because you are then become the example for how everyone that you are leading is going to be interacting with the world.
Absolutely. Yep.
What is your first step for people like when they're in that that drowning and they've gotten so hyper focused that like they don't even see the rest of their life in the
Mhm.
things like what's the first thing that you really focus on for helping them just like take that breath to like reharmonize themselves?
Yeah. Very first thing we have to do is find the why. Like, why now? Why all of a sudden do you feel like you need to find balance in your life? And really have that ongoing dialogue around where's your purpose? Um, and who can be involved to help you feel accountable for the way you want to change now.
Mm,
Having those conversations around those areas of mindset first uh, are really the essential. They're not easy steps, right? But they can be simple steps if you work through them with someone who's already been there.
right. Yes. Oh, that's so good. And it's so empowering too. We started off like, how do you generate that energy? And sometimes it's like making this decision to figure out how to do the same thing differently, get to the
Yes.
same result, but from a different path. Because I think a lot of people are afraid that if they explore that and they start changing the way they do things, they're not going to be able to achieve at the same level. They're going to get fired, they're going to get let go, or that they're going to have to jump ship. And it's like everything's a skill. So if something's not working for you, we're missing a skill. So like let's empower you to like rearrange all the pieces to take a different path to that end result without losing everything you've worked for.
Exactly. And I love that you bring that up because what I find is when I'm working with folks, we actually don't change the way we work. It's more about the way we think about the work. To your point, it's less so that and that's a valid question that people bring up. Like, I'm worried. I don't want anyone to think I'm working less. Especially for women who still work at home. The question comes up, well, if I'm doing a workout, people will know I'm not working. Well, it's actually just the opposite. If you're taking care of yourself, you have a different energy that you display to everyone. You don't know it, but they feel it. And that energy is a level of confidence that has brought you up to a different way that those folks are now looking at you.
Yes. Yes. Like I don't even know how to say anything right now other than yes. Because it's like we really when you're learning to start doing things differently, you're carrying like this weighted blanket of what you're worried how everyone else is going to respond to you based off of the shit you heard them respond to everyone else. Anytime someone tried to rock the boat, like so you're carrying all those like random comments with you.
Mhm.
But really what's happening when you're like and you can't be a dick about it. You can't just neglect your responsibilities and be like, I'm out the rest of the day. It's a self-help care day. And it's like, that is crappy. But like when you hold it as space so that you can like come right back in with all of the energy and intentions, all of a sudden you give other people permission to get curious about the changes they can make to make this dynamic work better for everyone so that the results get stronger.
Exactly.
Not
Ex-
just that like me, it's all about me, it's my work life balance, this is my life,
Yeah.
I'm here for the pay. And it's like, oh no, no, like when I get to be my best, when I eat foods that actually don't give me brain fog or give me the energy rather than me running on empty. I actually show up in meetings nicer. I actually like don't bite people's heads off as quickly. I'm a little more logical and calm. That's really great for the team. Like that's not selfish, that's giving.
Exactly, exactly.
And so I'm laughing because I'm like, I'm sure you experience this too. How many people are like, I don't have time for lunch. And it's like,
Yeah,
you don't have time not to eat an
exactly,
actual meal.
exactly,
Your
exactly,
team needs you to eat
exactly,
because
exactly.
you're a real big asshole because you're
Mhm.
hungry.
Yeah. You've heard the term hangry, but we have a lot of people who are like, if if so and so doesn't eat, we're gonna have a nuclear explosion over here. So
Do you know one of my biggest things about the workplace is like there's like this weird badge of honor for how many meals you didn't eat and that you're just
right,
running on coffee.
right. Oh my God. Oh my God. So
Like,
true.
or how busy you were, what time you woke up, and when you logged out. And it's just like, that's not actually a badge of honor. That's actually a sign that you don't know how to
Mm,
manage yourself or the people around you.
exactly. And you know, the perfect analogy to go with that thought is any CEO you see has a more demanding, more full schedule than you ever had in your career. They eat lunch. They most likely ran 10 miles before they came to work. They probably have a yoga practice and they're not they're also going home at a time where they can see their kids before they go to bed.
Oh no, Susan, you don't get it. The only reason they have that freedom is because they've delegated all their work and they don't do anything.
Yeah, sure. Because they're not in all the meetings leading any talks or discussions. They're not
Uh,
on TV talking about the
um,
share price.
but there is a lot to say that if your team is operating in a way where that is the vibe, like there's a disconnect in that
Right.
leadership of really helping your people show up to work in a way that's actually beneficial to everyone.
Exactly, exactly. I
Because
don't know if you've seen that meme that is going around lately, and it was so perfect for this conversation, where we see someone in a suit, head down, and the lights are going out in the office, and it says, "The only people who notice that you're working late are your friends and family."
mm,
That is so true in my experience anyway. You know, I would go in early, I would leave late, and all of those like things that I thought were propelling me to a new level in my career as I climbed that ladder were actually draining me of that positive energy I could have given to my team, to your point.
mm. I love that because that's not to take away from the fact that there are seasons where like
Right.
you do have to put in the time and the effort and they are going to be longer days because there's like a push.
Yeah.
But if your team is always operating and it's been like and it's been like a 5 year long push and
Mm,
everyone's just like there's things that need to change because just like marathon training, it's for a season. You don't train for a marathon every day the rest of your life.
right.
Like there's a big push, there's a lot of energy, there's longer training days, but then you go back to a more ebbs and flows maintenance mode.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. So important to find, and you also said work-life balance. And unfortunately, I think that's another term that has really put a lot of pressure on us to be really good at our careers and really good at our family life with like no friction in between, and that's just not realistic.
No.
It's
And it looks different for everyone. And that's the other thing
exactly
that I think people that there is no cookie cutter So it's not like a company can say, here's the plan for you, because the plan is a little different for everyone.
Right.
I really like harmony better than balance. And I see the harmony as a triangle with my health on a corner, my relationships, and then the way I earn on money in the other corner, in that it's dancing. And anytime I feel out and drained and like starting to like be worn out, it's my internal check to go, we're not in harmony. What's getting more of my attention than needs to right now, and where do I feel disconnected? And it allows me to make that like shift. Do you have like an internal barometer that works for you?
Yes, I love that you have those pillars, and my three pillars are really centered around nourishing my body, moving my body, and thriving in my body. So that a lot of times everything gets caught up in your head.
Mm,
And when you exhale and bring it back into your body, there's almost like a lifting effect that happens. Your posture gets different, your breathing is easier, and your thinking becomes clearer. So giving your body the food that it craves in a balanced plate so that you can move with more energy really means that you're thriving in every aspect of your life. And that's the way that I know if something's out of balance, like if I'm not eating the way that is right for my body, then I don't have the energy to move, and I'm gonna trip a step somewhere in my life.
yeah, you're gonna feel exhausted and dragging and just like out of it, like just off your game.
Exactly.
I love that, because the truth is that everyone thinks that it's like 100%. Like I have to be 100% here and 100% there, and it's like no, there's gonna be times where it's gonna be like 90% over here and 10% over here, but it can't stay there or you're gonna feel miserable. And
Right.
then there's gonna be times where it like shifts and it really is more of like a 33, 33, 34. And then there's gonna be times where it's like 75 over here and shifted, and like that is so individualized. But yet I
Hmm.
believe we live in a society where we try to force what's right for us and our own harmony and balance onto other people.
Yes, yes, so true, so true. Oh my gosh. I love that you're saying that because there are so many times when you'll see it's all or nothing. And let's just, you know, here's the prescription. One, two, three. These are the things that will make my life totally different. And we're all unique. What's right for you is going to be different for Sally. And what's right for Sally is going to be different for Jennifer. Different lifestyles, different ways of thinking, different bodies. We need to celebrate those differences and feel empowered by those differences.
Oh, I love that a lot. And the thing, like, I feel like so many people come to a conversation like this waiting for you and I to like hand out checklists and like to
Right.
dos, right? And
Yes.
what Susan and I have really been sharing in this conversation is how to think about this for yourself so that you can actually develop what works for you, and how you can start exploring which pieces of this conversation you need to bring into your own life right now and start practicing. Which things have you been doing that you thought were right, but it's time to like let them go to make room for these new things and start exploring. Because, you know, I don't know that I've ever said this out loud, but like the truth is that if I were to hire a coach or someone to help me, I actually, I'm at a stage where I realize that if you can teach me how to think, I will give you everything I have. But if you want to preach at me what to do in a specific prescription, like that's not for me anymore, because I don't need more knowledge. I need like how to execute and how to bring that into my own life so it's not a yes no. It's like coming from within me in my decisions. Did that make
Exactly.
sense? Or did that
That's
just make
so
sense
many.
to you and I?
I don't know. That's a great question. I love that question. It definitely makes sense to me. But
Thank
it's a
you.
great
Thank you there,
question
Zoom, for the
posed
thumbs
to
up.
me. I know. I love that question. I think I'm going to ask a lot of people that question, because it's clear to me. It's clear to you, but I don't know about everyone else.
Yeah, because when you learn, if someone can teach you how to ask great questions to get the results that you want, then no matter what life throws your way, you know what the right next step for you will always be.
Right.
And
Yes.
it's
It's
when
you.
you,
You've created it. It's your
yeah.
own accountability has created it.
Yeah. It's the reason I think it's the real reason I believe that diets and workout programs don't work sustainably for people because it never came from within them. They were
Right.
militantly following and
Yes.
being compliant, but then life happened, but because they never learned and integrated what worked from the inside
Hmm.
out, then they go back to all these old habits and crutches and coping mechanisms that were developed to survive something, which
Yeah.
served its purpose.
Hmm.
But who wants to survive the rest of their
Right.
life?
Exactly.
I don't want to feel like I've messed up every day of my life because my life got busy and I couldn't do X, Y, and Z. But I do want to feel empowered in every choice that I make, knowing that it's the best thing for me right now.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Love it.
Mm.
So good,
You've
Tiffany.
got me, like, I'm over here. I'm like, these are my favorite conversations because I'm like, I love conversations like this. It feels like I get to one know you as a real human beyond just like the surface level stuff, but it gives me an opportunity to think too. And so, if you're listening, like, I want to know, like, what are you thinking about? What's coming up for you? I would love for you to leave it in the show notes, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or Apple. Like, what's coming up for you? What questions do you have? What aha moments maybe came to light for you? Um, Susan, as we start wrapping up, what is there anything that's left on your heart that you wanted to share today that maybe we didn't get to? Or just a parting message, a final thought that you want to leave with the woman listening with us right now?
I think the only thing that I'd like to say is the hardest part is getting started. But if you have someone by your side to help you get that start, then the rest is going to fall into place like you've never thought would be possible.
Oh, so, so good. Everyone thinks they're coming here to learn like what the right meal plan is, what workouts they should do so that they can actually be healthy. And every time I love it, it's like everything but. We talk about because it's all those other pieces that we think are not important and are not contributing, but it's like it's all that other stuff. And when you get that sorted out, everything else falls into place.
So it's so true.
Oh, what a great conversation. Thank you for being here with us today. And with that, this is Two Humans Talking, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.